Welcome back to another edition of Dark Power. So, we've got AEW Dark, Impact Wrestling to cover. Let's get straight to it. But before we start, remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We always appreciate the shout outs, the love, the comments, the shares. It helps us, helps you, helps everybody. So, once again, guys, make sure you do that. Now, jumping straight into things, AEW Dark starts off with one of our champions in action, our women's champion to be precise, Hikaru Shida versus Ray Chanel. This is a quick match. Chanel does there's a bit of a comedy back and forth in the beginning, or a heel, I guess not really comedy, more of a heel being a heel, Ray Chanel living up to the Parisian fashion supermodel gimmick, and Shida having none of it, and putting her away relatively quickly, all things considered. It's just another match to keep Shida looking strong, keep the champion moving as she rolls along. After this, we have a match also designed for that purpose, Kip Sabian versus Hollis, Chris Hollis, who is returning to Impact after a previous loss. This is his second match for Impact, and gotta say, it's not going to go much better. Kip Sabian does really great heel work in the ring and outside of the ring, and here one of his good heel moments is when he takes a bit of a breather to get some water from his fiancée, to tell his fiancée he loves her, and to get a good luck kiss from his fiancée. Now, normally those things are going to happen at the beginning of a match, but this is happening a little bit further in. Just ways to cut time, kill time, and aggravate the face of the match. It's very similar to what Ray Chanel did in the previous match, but here Kip Sabian picks up the win to move onwards. After this, there is a vignette, we'll say, backstage segment. Not really backstage, it's in the Jaguars training facility, which is adjacent to Daly's place, with Dustin Rhodes training the Nightmare Sisters, Brandy and Allin. The vignette or promo itself goes fine, where they talk about how they want to build up the AEW women's division. The issue here is that at the end of the vignette, Brandy is trying to thank Dasha for the time. Allin keeps repeating everything Dasha says. Brandy starts getting a little frustrated, and they start going back and forth, showing that despite the willingness of both sides to work together as a team, there's still some friction. These two still don't really like each other, and they're trying to get over that. So we're going to see how that continues to grow over time. Now, speaking of a team that doesn't have that problem and always work together well and have zero friction, you got to give the people what they want, and that means having the best friends in a match. And after the Nightmare Sisters vignette, we go to that exact situation. We have a match between the best friends and Brady Pierce and Sabi, and those with a savvy eyes, not savvy but savvy, will recognize Sabi as Tito Sabatelli from NXT. He was one of the NXT releases during the large-scale release of WWE Talent back during the beginning of the pandemic. This is a pretty solid match. Best friend picks up the win. I'm interested to see if they do anything with Sabatelli down the road. I don't know if that means signing him to a contract. There's just a lot of talent, free agent talent out there. We know that Impact has snapped up a huge bunch, and we'll be talking about that later, but there's still a lot out there if AEW wishes to acquire some people and build out parts of their roster. So maybe this is the start of something new. And if we're talking about people that AEW has brought on since the pandemic, or just in general, we can't not talk about Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks has a match here right after this against Will Hobbs. This is a really great match. I thought Starks has been continuing to show and prove why they signed him to that contract, why they wanted him in the first place, and it's a strong general situation for them to have somebody like him. After this, we have Scorpio Sky versus another person coming over to AEW, at least for Dark purposes. That's Aaron Solo. Those of you who know a little bit of history or know anything about Aaron Solo know that he is engaged to none other than the SmackDown Women's Champion and one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Bayley. This is a good match of the night. Scorpio Sky, incredible singles career ahead of him, but in this situation, Aaron Solo is able to keep up with him, able to help him put on a good match. It always takes two to tango. A lot of times you have people carrying other people. In this situation, Scorpio is able to work well with Solo, and they pull out a good match. Scorpio picks up the win, and after this, we have two talents who have, up until now, really been relegated to AEW Dark matches and losses. Diamante versus Kylan King. Diamante picks up the win here. They're starting to position her more for future opportunities, bigger and better things. And that's always good to see that if you are starting in the ranks of AEW Dark, you can transition very well to Dynamite and succeed. I don't know if they've necessarily offered her a contract. I know that her girlfriend, Kara Hogan, I don't know if they're fiancé or not, but girlfriend, Kara Hogan, is in Impact. Maybe Diamante is working temporarily in AEW while she gets something in Impact. I don't know the particulars of it, but if she does stick with Impact, they seem to like her. They seem to be willing to work with her. And after this is a match between two people that are... One is a stalwart of AEW, definitely an AEW person marked for the future. Somebody else is somebody who could have that down the road in Robert Anthony. This is Darby Allin versus Robert Anthony. Really good match. Now, this match is almost... It's interesting because Robert Anthony matches in AEW have almost been about other things, not necessarily the match itself. And here, that holds true because the match is not really about Darby trying to beat Robert Anthony. It's about Darby looking out the ring at Taz. After everything that happened at Fight for the Fallen between Brian Cage and Jon Moxley, and then Darby getting involved with Brian Cage after the fact. And that's going to rear its ugly head after this match when Brian Cage shows up to put the hurt on Darby Allin. And who comes out to help him? None other than Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks is aligning himself with Taz. And we're seeing that Taz had alluded to this earlier in the broadcast when he spoke about how there was going to be something. And, you know, for the most part, if you're watching, you're thinking, oh, it's just Brian Cage coming out maybe to do something with Darby or maybe a promo or something like that. There's going to be a stare down. There's going to be maybe an altercation, but you're not necessarily thinking about Ricky Starks. And Taz did allude to somebody joining. There was another person, but you're still not thinking of Ricky Starks. And that's, if you're thinking about anybody, it could be anybody. You're not thinking about one person in particular. So it's always good when you have that air of mystery about what somebody is speaking about, and then we see what it actually is. So I think well done on the reveal. I'm not sure where Starks and Cage working together go from here. The tag division is stacked, but they'll probably get some tag wins to show not only that they are cohesive as a tag team, but that Taz can be a proper mentor to both of them and work together well with them. After this, we have the Butcher and the Blade in the main event versus Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon. If you think Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon are going to pick up a win, you did not roll well with Brandon Cutler's dice, or die, as the case may be. Butcher and Blade are getting positioned here in the main event match because they're going to, on Wednesday, have a match against the Young Bucks, a Falls Count Anywhere all-around Daily's Place match. And so that means they need to pick up a win here because they're probably going to be picking up a loss tomorrow. And they do pick up a win over the aforementioned Cutler and Avalon to close out Dynamite. It's a pretty good tag match, pretty good main event. Not as good as the Sky solo match, but it gets the job done. So guys, now moving to Impact. We spoke earlier about all the different free agents. We had Slammiversary. We're coming out of Slammiversary. I'm not going to lie. The main event annoyed me. I talked about the main event last night with our True Heel leader, True Heel Phenom, SB3, and he kind of talked me off the ledge when it came to my initial thoughts on the match. It was a gut reaction that I had. I will tell you my gut reaction and his perspective, and how after thinking about it, I agree more with his perspective than my gut reaction. But I also was operating on not a lot of sleep. I still am, but my initial reaction to the match was a bit weird. It was a bit weird. But starting us off is something that is not weird, but also is a little weird. In a promo from EC3, he's bringing his Control Your Narrative character and his Control Your Narrative patterns of speech and talking to Impact Wrestling. I think it's really good. It's a nice breath of fresh air. You're having something different. You're having something unique. EC3 knows his character very well. He's living his life. He's talking about the things that he has experienced and things that have been done to him throughout his years in this industry, and you can tell that he fully believes in everything that he's saying, and that's always important, right? After this, we have a slightly new and altered intro video that adds EC3, adds the Good Brothers, adds all the people that debuted Heath as well. I think there was a shot of Heath, so maybe that's a kind of a confirmation that Heath is going to be a more permanent fixture of Impact. We will get to that a little bit later. But first, we have Chris Bay defending his newly won X Division Championship against Willie Mack. This is a good match, not as good to me as the match on Slammiversary. I think they had more time on Slammiversary, despite the fact that it was a short match. I think at Slammiversary they also were going more all out, and here they had the ability to control it a bit better and constrain what we saw at Slammiversary. So it was a good match to me, but the Slammiversary match was better. Either way, the result is still the same. Chris Bay picks up the win. He successfully defends the X Division title. After this, we have a promo from the Good Brothers. The Good Brothers are here to talk about everything that has happened within the past 24-48 hours. When it comes to their debut on Slammiversary, their Talking Shop podcast episode, just all the different things that have changed the landscape or changed the ecosystem of wrestling now that they have officially moved to Impact Wrestling. And it's a good promo. I liked their delivery with, one person will say a line and then kind of a ad-lib. My thought was a Jim Jones style ad-lib if you're a fan of Dipset and fan of hip-hop. Jones has a uncanny ability to make an offbeat or off-color remark as an ad-lib to a line that he has just spoken. And in this situation, what would happen is Anderson says something, then Gallows has the ad-lib. And then later when they switch, Anderson is the one making the line, Gallows is the one making the ad-lib. It worked very well. After this, while they're doing the promo, not after this, but while they're in the middle of the promo, Ace Austin, Madman Fulton come out. We saw the situation of what happened at Slammiversary, where Ace and Madman Fulton got what was coming to them from the Good Brothers as they attempted to attack Eddie Edwards after the world title match. Here they formally get to introduce themselves to the Good Brothers and say, hey, this is our this is our business, our company. What do you think you're doing? And it goes just about the same way as it did at Slammiversary, where they get the ring cleared from them. I will say one thing that was really funny is that at Slammiversary, they threw the beer to Gallows, and Gallows could not catch it properly. And this time around, Carl says, "Throw me his beer," and then hands it to him. And there's a bit of a humorous moment there. After this, there is Rhino. Well, Heath can't get into the building. His name is not on the list, and he's trying to get in, and the security guard won't let him. So he's calling Rhino. And Rhino's not answering the phone because Rhino's in an argument with Hernandez about all the money that they split with that street fight between that arm wrestling contest. And so they say, you put up your half, I'll put up my half. We'll do this we'll settle this in the ring. Winner takes all of the money, which looks like maybe $1,000 tops. Tops. It's probably more like $500 of arm wrestling money. But because of this, Rhino does not pick up the phone for Heath, and Heath can't get past security. Somebody who is not having a problem with getting past security is Chris Bay. Chris Bay is celebrating in his locker room or his dressing room, and Rohit Raju shows up. And there's a bit of an exchange there. Rohit Raju is a funny character to me. I think they're maybe going to have Rohit down the road is going to be somebody who's challenging Chris Bay for the X Division Championship. I don't think he's somebody who's going to win it, but that might be somebody they can get a one-off match with Bay for. Maybe something along the lines of Chris Bay has to promise Rohit Raju a match if Rohit helps him with a tag match or something like that. That's kind of the feeling that I got from that. And after this, we have a solid tag team match. Speaking of a potential tag team match, we have a solid tag team match between Kiera Hogan, Tasha Steelz, and Nevaeh and Havoc. These are four women who have been having problems with each other since before Slammiversary. I said maybe they would have a match at Slammiversary, but they ended up being part of the gauntlet match for the number one contender to the Knockouts title. Because of this, they're not having a tag match on the Impact after Slammiversary. Solid match. Hogan and Steelz pick up the win. nice heel work, I will say, throughout this match to get an advantage. I will say at the end of the match, there did seem to be a bit of a communication breakdown. They pick up the win through disqualification. Well, I'm sorry. They lose the match by disqualification, but they win the moment in that they were able to successfully hit or attack the other team. But there's just a moment of miscommunication where afterwards, where Havoc has one of them up to give them a powerbomb move, and I think Nevaeh thought she was supposed to hit him with the chair or something to that effect. But other than that, pretty good moment, pretty good segment, does what it needs to do to move that storyline along. After this, there's a backstage segment where Sami Callihan's talking to Ken Shamrock about everything that happened with the tag match at Slammiversary, and Ken's just kind of blowing Sami off. Don't think that's going to work out too well for Shamrock down the road. I think we are definitely building to more of Sami versus Shamrock, and Sami at least is somebody who can definitely carry Shamrock to a good match. Hopefully, good lord, they had Sami and the North in the ring on that tag match at Slammiversary, and somehow, someway, Shamrock still looked lost in the sauce. So, you never know. But after this, we have Hernandez facing off with Rhino. Very quick match. It's the match is over faster than you can spell gore. And that's really all that happens, because Rhino hits a gore as soon as the bell rings, pins Hernandez, 1, 2, 3, gets the money, gets out of there. Which, I guess, sure, whatever. I think it was the match itself was unnecessary. The match was more about the fact that Rhino is unable to answer the phone for Heath, and so Heath is not able to get in. So, sure, let's just get this match over with quickly as possible. After this, we have Eddie Edwards cutting a promo in the ring, celebrating his world title win. It's a pretty decent promo from him. I don't necessarily like the fact that he's talking about how he wants to defend the world title every week. I think that's kind of diluting the world title in a sense. It makes it seem more like a TV title to me. Like that's what the TNT title is on Dynamite. That's what Cody is doing. It is designed to be a TV title. It's designed to be a title that's just defended every week for the purposes of TV and TV ratings. This kind of brings down the world title to me in a sense, but I guess if you try to rebuild some of the luster on the world title because you haven't had the world title in a long time, then that's might be important to overall storylines and overall progression of what makes Impact Wrestling. Speaking of world titles, we have a Moose promo after this where he encourages Fallah Bahh to come to the ring and fight him for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, the unsanctioned title. And after this, we have the real world champion backstage, where he is confronted by Trey, and Trey says he would like to be one of the ones who Eddie Edwards defends that world title against on a TV match. And I think that's actually a strong way to start off this series of defenses for Eddie Edwards if he's going to be doing this on TV. Trey is a talent in the ring, and Eddie Edwards is also a talent in the ring, and they're two that can put on a really great match. That's a great main event just in and of itself. So, even if the title wasn't on the line. So that'll be something to look forward to down the road for the upcoming weeks. Here we have Moose facing Fallah Bahh. Now, what I like about this is they're having Real World's Champion, Unsanctioned World Champion. Real World's Champion, Unsanctioned World Champion. And I like that because we talked about on the roundtable for Slammiversary that maybe they go towards a title unification situation. And that'll be something that maybe they're setting the groundwork for now by having back-to-back-to-back segments where it involves the people who have those titles. As a result, Moose successfully defends the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against Fallah Bahh. My internet feed cut out here on Sling, so I missed some of the match, so I can't give you 100% of how the match went. I'm going to assume that the match went pretty well in the sense that Moose knows what he's doing in the ring. Fallah Bahh has a script that he's going to stick to because of his size, and that size is something that works well with Moose, so I feel as though the match is probably a good match. On paper, it should be a good match. If you were able to watch it, and your internet did not crap out on you at that moment, I'm still trying to figure it out. The outlet reset itself, and that cut the surge protector that my modem is plugged into to give you behind the scenes. And so my sling on my computer just went, no, I'm going to decide not to work. I had to tether my phone to the computer for a bit while I waited for everything to reboot itself. But luckily we are backing up online, and backing up online means that we were able to see the Good Brothers backstage getting into an argument with Ace Austin and Madman Fulton in the parking lot, and then get assaulted by Reno Scum. They're going to be getting Good Brothers versus Reno Scum next week. That's going to be the formal debut of the Good Brothers in Impact Wrestling. Looking forward to that match. And I forget when exactly it happened, but we had a moment where Gia is backstage talking to Deonna Purrazzo about the world title win. Kylie comes up and introduces herself. She is now the number one contender, Smiley Kylie Rae. And they get into it, shall we say. Deonna tries to put her armbar on Kylie Rae. Kylie Rae is having none of it. And they have a little back and forth to tease the future title match. But next week on Impact, we're going to have something pretty interesting. They have a backstage segment where Rosemary is with Johnny Bravo in some kind of house. Rosemary thinks it's some kind of romantic liaison. She is mistaken. Taya Valkyrie is there. And while they're getting into it, Taya says, well, Taya loves parties. So Rosemary starts snapping her fingers and inviting all these different people using her magical powers into the house. And it looks like next week we're going to get some kind of parody of a reality TV show set in a house. Something like the Big Brother shows, or like, I keep wanting to say Survivor, or think Survivor, but that's on an island. or islands. This is in a house. It's the Big Brother reality shows, not like, I guess similar to, I don't really watch reality shows, guys, so I don't know the names of these things. Maybe like Jersey Shore, or what Jersey Shore was. But we're going to get some kind of fun parody of that. Who knows what it's going to be and entail, especially when you involve Rosemary's dark magic and Crazy Steve's, well, craziness. But after this, we have the main event. The main event is the North putting on their tag team titles on the line up against Motor City Machineguns. Alright, so I'm going to start with this. Motor City Machineguns win the match. I was not that fond of it. For starters, I don't think that title changes, big title changes, should be on free TV. I should have had to pay for this, is what I'm saying. You should have had to pay for this. That's how a company should work, at least in my mind. I also don't think that titles should be changing that soon after a pay-per-view when you just had a team win. It's those two things combined. So I didn't really like the title change itself. Sid had brought a different perspective to the table, and this was a gut reaction that I had, because I just, why? They could have done this at the pay-per-view. Sid brought up that while those concerns that I had are valid, Impact has to do something to maintain momentum and have people, and as a result, people were talking about Motor City Machineguns winning the title match. Now they have a built-in build on the story of the North trying to get their titles back from Motor City Machine Gun. And so I see what Sid's saying, and normally I would have felt the same way. And that's how I feel today after having slept on it and woken up in the morning. But at the moment, in the time when it happened, my initial reaction was that I didn't like it. I still think that title changes for large title reigns, because you got to remember, the North made history in being the longest reigning Impact Tag Team Champions. I think title reigns that end like that should be ended on pay-per-view. I understand shock factor, I understand all of those things, but to me, I like it when it's on a pay-per-view. If you feel the same way, put it in the comments. If you agree with Sid and 24 hours later me, put that in the comments as well. We'd love to hear what you guys are saying, what you guys are thinking when it comes to Impact and when it comes to AEW Dark. I think that they're at least positioned now with big stories behind all of the titles. And that's honestly the most important thing. At the end of the day, whether I agree with how they're going about it, whether I agree with the methodology, the important thing is that all of the titles have stories. There's a reason to be invested. And that's something that Impact can pat itself on the shoulder. They've done something to give a story to Chris Bay with the Finesse X Division that he's talking about, Finesse Division Championship. He has more people gunning after him now, and he doesn't have anybody watching his back, which is what Rohit Rachi was talking about. We know what's happening with Deonna Purrazzo. She's now the champion, but she has a target on her back too. Kylie Ray's gunning for her. And all the other knockouts are going to be gunning for her as well. We know what's happening with Eddie Edwards with the world title, and that he's going to be defending it every week, and that Ace Austin is going to be coming after him. But more importantly, Trey is going to be coming after him. And more importantly, EY, when Eddie Edwards was cutting his promo, EY came out and confronted him, and they had a pretty good back and forth exchange. EY basically saying that you should be thanking me because I incapacitated Rich Swann in that match. Who knows? Rich Swann could have won the match. And we have a storyline behind our Impact Tag Team Champions, Motor City Machineguns, who have backing now to their claim of saying they are the greatest Impact Tag Team in the world, in history. And we have the North saying, no, it's still us. It's always been us. We had our over 1 year reign. You ended that. So now we're going to have to beat you up to get our titles back. So they have stories behind every single title, behind every single feud. And I like that. That's always important because you have things that are going to keep you in. There's even a storyline for Moose, for crying out loud, about his fake title. And that's always important because no matter what happens from segment to segment on TV, you continue to be invested. You continue to want to watch. And anything that happens, we will cover, guys. We will be with you every step of the way. I hope to see you guys next week on the next week's edition of Dark Powerrr. I will be as sleep deprived then as I am now. Hopefully I'll be stumbling over my words a little bit less. But thank you guys for sticking with me throughout the course of this video. We appreciate it. Remember, again, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you.